So I'm down here in the middle of the woods. I'm outside because it's just so nice. This time of year, it's just beautiful. It's not too hot yet. We're like in the 70s. It's not humid. The sun's shining. It's really nice. This is a great time of year. This time of year and fall, especially fall, that's my time of the year. Well, I did it. So how about the big reveal? For the first time, I cut my own hair. Are you ready? 3, 2, are you sure you want to see it? All right, here we go. There it is. I don't know if I can show you the back. I actually don't think it turned out too badly. I think it's all right. I ordered a set of clippers off of Amazon, and they came in, and I asked Marina to cut my hair, and she said, I'm not cutting your hair. She just didn't want to do it. And I said, well, fine. If you won't do it, I'll do it myself. And I did. So I went out on the deck yesterday after making that video, and I just took the trimmers and I cut it short around the back and the sides, and she started observing me. And finally she said, wait a minute, let me have those. And she just kind of took over and finished it up. And she said, okay, next time I'll do it. So both of us together got it done. I think it's pretty good though, and I'm glad that I'll be saving, because I'm a really good tipper. I mean, it costs like, I think 20 bucks or so to get my hair cut, and I always tip them at least 10 bucks. So hang on, I'm getting yelled at. Do what? Marina's up on the deck. See where I am? I'm in the middle of the woods. There's the old black and gray trailer, and she's up there somewhere on the deck. I don't know why she's camera shy here lately. I'm trying to get her back on camera, and she just, no, I don't want to go on camera. Sometimes I'll sneak up on her and get her to come back on camera. I hope y'all don't mind what I'm doing now. I'm just kind of shooting my daily life. I hope you don't mind me doing that. I figured that's better than nothing. That way I'll always be interested in something to talk about. Although there is something I want to talk about today. There's probably a lot I want to talk about, but I don't want to belabor any points here. This is kind of random. I just noticed that India and Pakistan are going at it. That's a little dicey. We got hot spots all over the world. I'm dismayed that Trump seems to be tilting somewhat toward the neocon element of the Republican Party. That's not a good thing. But I always tell myself it could be worse. It could be Biden. You know, Trump's a mixed bag. He does a lot of really good things, and some things he leaves me scratching my head. But what are you going to do? At least it's not Biden. Oh, these woods are so pretty. Thank you, by the way, for the kind comments yesterday. I really do appreciate that. If you would like this video, the old thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. Man, I need to get down here and do some thinning out of my woods. I got a lot of dead limbs and stuff I need to get picked up. I want to talk to you about a video that I watched 2 days ago that I highly recommend. You may know that I'm kind of a big fan of Tucker Carlson. I think he's really great. And just about every day he has a really compelling interview with somebody on his show. I joined his network. I think it's like $5 a month, and you can get full access. I highly recommend it. It's really tremendous, and he has some really interesting guests on his show. And he had a doozy on his show a couple of days ago, and this was a terrific interview. It only lasts about an hour. But if you get a chance, his interviews usually show up on YouTube, where you can watch it for free if you don't want to join the Tucker Carlson network. But Tucker's interesting to me because he'll talk to anybody. And as a journalist, he is a journalist, I'm not. But as a journalist, I think that's good. That's what you ought to be doing. Get every side of every issue and talk to as many people as you can. I got no problem with that. If your arguments hold water, then, hey, let's hear from you. Here's Kiki. Kiki, come here. Come here. Kiki, bear with me. Kiki caught a chipmunk a while ago and brought it up on the deck. I kind of scolded her. I don't mind her catching mice, which she does, and that's a good thing. But she's caught birds before, and I scold her for that. I don't like her catching birds. And chipmunks, I don't really think are too much of a threat, but she caught a chipmunk, and she was hauling it up to the house so that she could get congratulated for her find, I suppose. And she was whining with this thing in her mouth. Hey, silly. Hey, you want to say hello? Kiki. Are you being silly? She likes rambling around in the woods, but she's all right. Back to Tucker. Tucker did an interview a couple of days ago with a guy that I would never have expected to get anything out of this, but it turned out to be really terrific. Tucker interviewed a man by the name of Ben Cohen. Who is Ben Cohen, you might ask? Ben Cohen is the Ben from Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream. I think they were located in Vermont, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember if I ever had Ben and Jerry's ice cream. I don't know whether you have or not. I've heard it's pretty good. And I've always heard that Ben and Jerry were flaming lefties, flaming liberals on the left. And I don't know anything about Jerry. They sold the company. It was bought by Unilever, I believe it was, he said. But he made out really well. He's very wealthy, but he is still, as far as I can tell, a flaming lefty. But Ben Cohen is spot on the money, at least on one issue, and that's the issue he was speaking with Tucker about. Because Ben Cohen, for whatever faults he may have, in this interview was focused on one particular issue. I think he's probably a Bernie Sanders supporter. He's still a liberal as far as I know. But Ben Cohen is anti-war. I mean, he's anti-war. And Tucker's also anti-war, who shouldn't be anti-war, right? But he was specifically talking about the Russia-Ukraine war and the American involvement in same and the folly thereof. But he brought out so many wonderful facts in this interview. I just cannot recommend this enough. You might dismiss anything else he might have to say or anything else that he believes, but with regard to the issue of the American involvement in foreign theaters of war, he is spot on the money. He started the interview out by talking about General Smedley Butler, who I'm quite familiar with. General Butler was the most highly decorated general in American history at one time. I don't think he is any longer, but he was a veteran of World War I. And General Butler wrote a famous book called War is a Racket. This is an American general, a veteran of the First World War and other conflicts, who was writing a book called War is a Racket, and he's exactly right. Now, I'm anti-war myself, unless, of course, our nation, our sovereign nation is attacked by another nation, or it faces invasion in our coast or borders or airspace, which is why, of course, I fully support the deportation of illegal aliens who come across our southern and northern borders. And not to get bogged down in another topic, but there's a big debate right now in the mainstream media about due process for illegal aliens. Folks, these people are not entitled to due process. These people do not have constitutional rights. Just because you come across our border and your feet are on American soil now does not grant you access to any constitutional rights. The Constitution, as far as I am concerned, was written for Americans, period. American citizens. Citizenship ought to mean something. And just because you come into the country illegally does not grant you access to due process, as far as I'm concerned. If you disagree, try and change my mind, but I don't think you can. But anyway, General Butler was writing decades ago how American involvement in foreign wars that have nothing to do with our own national sovereignty is an absolute racket. And he demonstrates in this book how American corporations benefited from American military action in foreign lands that had nothing to do with the defense of our homeland. And he mentions South America, and he mentions Europe, and he mentions China and India and all these places where we would send our military to take action in foreign lands where it wasn't necessary to defend our homeland. And a lot of people got rich in the States because of it, because anytime you have military action, you got to have military weaponry. You know how that goes. I'm looking at you, Dick Cheney. You know, there was a time in this country when we didn't even have a standing army. Did you know that? I'm all for a strong military. I am all for a strong defense. But of the what is it now, well over 100 military bases all over the world, we've got no business being all over the world with our military bases, folks. I can understand military bases on our soil to defend our nation, but why should we have military bases halfway around the world? Why should we do that? I mean, we are 5%, he pointed out correctly, we are 5%, America is 5% of the world's population, and the ratio is skewed heavily. We just need to, as we say in the South, tend to our own biscuits. We need to close some bases, bring some troops home, and just concentrate on the domestic defense of our homeland. We have no business being involved in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, for example, and we could go on and on and on. And I've talked about this ad nauseum on this channel. The reason this war has been protracted for 3 years is because America keeps pumping money, taxpayer money, to Ukraine, to people like Zelensky, the comedian puppet, who shuts down religious denominations and churches in his country, suspends elections, yet we give him money. I mean, what's up with that? We toppled the legitimate government of Ukraine, as everybody knows. We've talked about this at length on this channel. Because so many Americans, both in political leadership and so many American citizens, still have this Cold War mentality that Russia is the old Soviet Union. It is not. How many times do we need to say that? Russia absolutely was justified to go into Ukraine, and they have done so. And, you know, America broke our word. We gave our word to the Russians that we would never expand NATO any further than it was at the time. This goes back to Clinton. And, of course, we lied to them. Our government lied to their government, and we have expanded NATO close to the Russian border. How are they supposed to react to this? Donald Trump would famously say, had he been president, Putin never would have gone into Ukraine. I don't know if I believe that or not. He would also say that he could have this war ended within 24 hours. Well, that didn't work out too well. President Tim could do that. You know how? By getting us out of it completely and saying to Putin, do what you got to do, just get it over with. And Putin could, folks. Putin could end this thing quickly If we would stop meddling where we've got no business meddling. If we would just tend to our own affairs. But we're just swimming up to our necks in neocons in the American government and in talk shows with people like Mark Levine, the great one, and Sean the Pawn Hannity, and the mainstream media and all of these talking heads. But here comes this breath of fresh air, Ben Cohen, this left-wing liberal who is exactly right when it comes to the issue of the overreach of the American military and our military expansionism around the world. Can you imagine how much money we could save if we started closing down foreign military bases and suspended all of our military activities all over the world and just concentrated on our domestic issues and the domestic defense of our homeland, defending our coast, our borders, our airspace? If India and Pakistan start going at it, just let them go at it. Russia and Ukraine, let them solve it. Let them solve their own problem. Whoever else is going to get... Why do we have to get involved in everybody else's fight? If my neighbors down the street, if they start fighting, it's none of my business. Let them work it out. It's not my place to get involved in other people's domestic disputes. If we can, as I said, play the role of peacemaker, I've got no problem with that. But as far as committing American troops overseas to all these conflicts, we've got no business doing this, folks. It's not constitutional. The founding fathers would be aghast at what we have done with our military. And I'm pro-military. I'm pro-strong defense. I'm all for it. I salute the flag like anybody else does. But I want the military to be used correctly, and that is in defense of our homeland, not somebody else's homeland. Whether Russia or Ukraine could prevail in the war is really none of our business. Now, Russia would prevail if we just get out of it. We have picked the wrong horse to ride with in this particular horse race, let me tell you. But because of the neocons in our government who have this Cold War mentality that Russia bad, they're still a bunch of communists, they're a bunch of atheist heathens, and Ukraine is good. And if Putin takes over Ukraine, he's just going to keep on marching. He'll go into Poland and he'll go into all these other Eastern Bloc nations. No, he will not. But they don't understand this. And they either don't understand it because of they've been inculcated with the Cold War mentality, which is just a holdover, or they have religious beliefs, erroneous religious beliefs about the nature of Russia, or it could be something else, but it's probably one of those two things. Russia is not bad. I know it's redundant, but folks, I'm telling you, when the Soviet Union fell, we had the perfect opportunity to hit the reset button and become friends with Russia, trading partners with Russia, allies with Russia. What a dawn of peace there would have been for the world. But instead, the Cold War is over. We win, but we just can't stop. We just can't stop ourselves. Okay, so the Cold War's over in 1991 when the Soviet Union fell. Now we can cut back on our military and we can do what we should have been doing the whole time and just tend to our own affairs, but nothing stopped. We started creating monsters all over the world. We created an axis of evil, Iran and North Korea and Iraq, and we've just got to have a bad guy somewhere. We've got to have a boogeyman somewhere, and if there's not one, we'll invent one at great cost, both in treasure and in blood, the blood of Americans. But Ben Cohen was a breath of fresh air in this interview. I'll try to remember to link it down below, or you could just search on YouTube for Tucker Carlson and Ben Cohen, Cohen. Like I said, he's a leftist. He's not religious. He was born Jewish, but he doesn't really practice any religion now. But he he is completely on point. He's basically preaching the same message that I'm sharing here and now, but he does a far better job of it than I do. But the thing that strikes me is simply this, folks. If there is an issue where the American people can find cohesion and unification, it ought to be this. It ought to be around the issue of war and the illicit use of the American military. If there is an issue that a right-wing lunatic nut job like me and a left-wing leftist liberal lunatic like Ben Cohen, if there's an issue that he and I could coalesce around, it would be this. Ben Cohen and I would probably see eye to eye on nothing else. Not on domestic spending or social programs or you name it, any myriad of issues. There's probably no common ground at all. But if there is common ground between us, it would be on this. And it occurs to me that if there's any issue the American people could coalesce around, it would be on this. It would be such a breath of fresh air if the American people could simply say of our military expansionism and our military exploration around the world and exploits around the world, if we could just say with one voice, enough of this. It is bankrupting us. We are $37 trillion in debt, and we just can't quit meddling, spending money we do not have, sending our military all over the world, unconstitutionally doing meddling all over the world when we can't afford this, either in terms of money and or blood. We could save so much money if we would simply rein in the military and let them do their jobs. I don't think anybody supports the military more than somebody like me who believes that their function should be for the defense of our homeland, not the defense of somebody else's homeland, for heaven's sakes. That's patriotic, if you ask me. Why can't we just, if we're going to send troops anywhere, why not just send them to El Paso instead of Guam? Incidentally, has Guam flipped over yet? Some of you may not get that, but some of you will. This was an interesting interview, which I highly recommend that you watch. Ben Cohen, well worth a watch. Ben Cohen and Tucker Carlson. And I have found that what he said, I was already a big fan of Smedley Butler. And when he led the interview by opening up The War is a Racket book by General Butler, I said, this I've got to see. This I've got to see. And he has formed somewhat of a coalition with a few retired generals and colonels, I believe, from the American military who are speaking the truth with regard to our military expansionism around the world. Man, I wish Donald Trump would get this message. I wish that Donald Trump would put people such as General McGregor, Douglas McGregor, and Professor Sachs and Ron Paul. I wish he would bring them into the Oval Office and say, talk to me, so that they could help him to understand what we should be doing with our military. Folks, it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was this sort of expansionism that bankrupted Rome as well as their moral decay. But we learn nothing from history. Russia and Ukraine, none of our business. India, Pakistan, none of our business. All these other conflicts around the world, none of our business. Why can't we bring our troops home, close these bases, and mind our own business, for heaven's sakes? Can you just imagine? And Ben Cohen was talking about all the things that we could do with all the money we have spent in warfare and military expansionism. Now, I don't agree with him with regard to all the things we could be spending money on, but the point is legitimate, that the American people could be ostensibly richer than we are if we didn't spend so much taxpayer money on these military exploits that are unconstitutional. So the sliver of hope here is that if there is an issue that Democrats and Republicans, liberals and conservatives can coalesce around, perhaps it is this issue of being an anti-war American, an American who simply wants the military to be used for our defense and that alone, and let other nations tend to their own affairs. Is that too much to ask? I don't believe so. What do you think? Give me your comments. Sorry, I ran a little long, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it was okay. Hey, give me your comments down below. I would appreciate hearing from you. I always appreciate that. And make sure to give me a thumbs up on the video. Everybody take care. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you soon.